Welcome to Unlimited Recon. My name is Brad, and on this channel, we're going to be exploring some backcountry areas in the United States on motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, snowmobiles, and electric motorcycles like this one. This is the sur-ron Black Edition, and today in this video, I'm going to give you a tour of all this and talk about all the specs. But first, let me just share with you kind of why I bought this bike before we dive deep into it. Many years ago, my sons and I, when they were younger, I've got 3 boys, would head out to the desert and up in the mountains, and we would ride dirt bikes and ATVs several times a month. Now, typically now I do a lot of my exploring in my Jeep and in my truck, but we used to have so much fun going out and riding dirt bikes. And so what I wanted to do was find a way to still take that with me on my adventures. And I think that's where an electric dirt bike comes in really handy, because we can be out at camp, and because it's electric and it's nice and quiet, I'm not going to disturb the environment or the people around me. Now, I have been looking at e-mountain bike options for a long time, and there's a lot of great ones out on the market, but they are a lot more expensive than this sur-ron. Plus, I already have a really nice mountain bike that I enjoy riding, and I wanted something that was, well, not going to require me to pedal, so I could go out a little bit further. And so that's where I think this fits the bill perfectly. Now, I did look at some e-bike options, but most of them seem to be a hybrid between a cruiser and a dirt bike, where the sur-ron is strictly made for the trails and ready to go. And I think this is going to be perfect. Now, I mentioned that it's quiet. It does have a little bit of an electric hum, which we'll dive into later. But the great thing about an electric bike is very little maintenance. You know, for many years, I had a Honda CR250, a 2-stroke, and that thing would rip through the trails, but it was loud, and I was constantly having to tinker on it. Although, I will say, I do love the smell of a 2-stroke. There's something special about that you're not going to get with this. But I think this is going to be perfect, the size and everything. So let's dig into the specs on it, and I'll kind of show you how it fits. We'll do a little comparison next to my mountain bike, and we'll pull some of the stuff apart and show you how this all works. The sur-ron Black Edition weighs about 110 pounds. It's 73.6 inches in length. It has a 49.6 inch wheelbase, and to the handlebars it's 40.9 inches, and it has 10.6 inches of ground clearance. The battery is a 60 volt 2000 watt hour Panasonic, and it is easily removed and charges quickly. There's a pure sine wave controller for smooth linear power band. The bike has an eco and a sport mode with regen. It's estimated that you can get about 20 miles to a maximum of 60 miles of range in eco mode, but that's with all factors being perfect. I'll be doing some real-world testing in the future. In sport mode, the bike is quick and accelerates fast, so I recommend everyone that's going to ride this get used to the torque in eco mode first before switching over to sport mode, because it'll take you by surprise if you're not paying attention. There is a small screen on the left side of the handlebars that will display your current speed, max speed, and total trip miles. This bike is rated at about 35 miles per hour, but there's a quick modification you can do to up that a bit to let go of the governor, but more about that in another video. The hydraulic disc brakes are good, but there are some pad upgrades options that I'll be looking at. It has an O-ring chain ring, which is very quiet, and overall the bike isn't very loud, just a little bit of a hum when you're going down the road. The sur-ron uses standard mountain bike forks with preload and rebound adjustability. You can easily swap these out, but for now, these are going to work just fine for my needs. The rear shock also has some slight adjustability, but I have it just one click from firm for now. But once I hit the trails, I'll be doing a little bit more fine-tuning with the front and the rear. There is a very bright headlight and a red rear tail light that both turn on automatically when you turn on the bike. Now, the tail light is not a brake light, and I think that's something worth looking into upgrading down the road. It does have a horn on the handlebars, and it's very loud and sure to get anyone's attention. The frame of the bike is aluminum, and all the welds look professional. The frame resembles a little bit of a modern-day Honda motocross frame, just a little bit smaller. While I can't seem to find specific horsepower numbers, the power to weight ratio is solid, and this bike accelerates quickly. All right, so those are the general specs, but how does the bike actually fit and feel when you're sitting on it and riding it? And I'll say right out of the box, it's not bad. It feels pretty good. I'm 6'2", and sitting here on the bike is pretty comfortable. I would like the handlebars to be just a little bit taller and a little bit bigger seat, and the good news is that there's plenty of aftermarket support, so those might be some upgrades that I do in the future. But when I stand up here, there's just a couple inches between me and the bike, so even if you're a shorter person, I think you're still going to be comfortable. I mean, this bike is around the same size as a 110, 125 cc motorcycle, but the weight is significantly less, which is going to be fun out on the trails. Now, the foot pegs down here just don't have enough bite, and so I think I will definitely be swapping those out. Again, there's a whole lot of stuff that I want to do to this thing, but I really just want to get out and ride it. My son and I have been riding it around the neighborhood, just in the streets. We really haven't had it off-road yet. And it's a lot of fun to drive, especially when you put it in sport mode. Boy, you better hold on if you hit that throttle. It'll get up and go. It's pretty exciting to ride. Now, for me, I'm used to riding a mountain bike, and my mountain bike is actually a little bit taller. The wheels are bigger, but they're narrower. These tires are smaller, but wider. So it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for me going from riding a mountain bike to this, and I haven't ridden a motorcycle in years, so it's going to be fun kind of relearning that, and I will definitely be sharing that with you guys the first time we take it off-road. Now, I mentioned that my son and I have been riding this quite a bit around the neighborhood for the last week, and got about 22 miles on this thing. And I've really been trying to kind of dial in the suspension because it is adjustable in the front and the rear. But until I get it off-road, I'm really not going to have that dialed in perfectly. But there's been a couple things that have I've noticed as we've been riding it. The one thing is when you turn it on, your headlight and your tail light come on automatically, and all the displays come up, but there's no noise. You don't know if it's ready to go, and if you turn the throttle, it doesn't go. Well, what I found was, oh, oops, Brad, you got to put the kickstand up. So put that kickstand up, and then she is ready to go. So that was one thing, a lesson learned for me. Another thing is getting used to where the brakes are. So on a regular motorcycle, your rear brake is a foot brake. Well, here it is your left brake. And so that's just something that you kind of have to get used to. Your front brake is on where the throttle is, and the rear brake is on your left side. So that's interesting. Now, charging the battery has been super convenient because there is a port on the side here where you can just plug it right in. I just plug it in here in the garage. But if you need to take that battery inside to charge it, you can just pop the cover, disconnect this, pull the whole battery out, and take it inside and charge it. So that's super convenient. Now, the charger that comes with this is pretty bulky. They do sell a smaller one that I may be taking with me on my trips because I don't need that big bulky one. So there's a lot of options out there. But riding this bike, man, it's a lot of fun. All right, now the important question, which I have been asking myself even since I got this, is where can I and where can I not ride this bike? Well, there's no pedals on it, so I think any mountain bike trails are kind of off limits. That's a pretty gray area. Even if you have any mountain bike, there are some people out there that are saying that they're not allowed on trails. This would tear up the trail a lot more than a e-mountain bike would, and so I'm not going to try to hit mountain bike trails. OHV areas I think will be fine, but I'm not going to register for a green or a red sticker because those are gas-powered requirements for vehicles here in California, so I don't think I need a sticker, not that I'm aware of. And can I drive it in the bike lane? I don't think so. Can I take it down a trail that requires a vehicle license, like a moped? I don't know. There's such a gray area. I feel like legislation and laws have not come up to electric bike requirements, and so hopefully we'll see some of that here in the future. Now, I have seen a few people be very successful in registering these as mopeds. I think that's definitely something I'm going to pursue, and I'll make sure I share with you guys how that goes, because if I can get a moped license plate on this, well, then I can take it down forest roads and whatnot that require licensed vehicles. So that might be a really good option and probably the way I'm going to head, fingers crossed. Now, in the UK, they sell a full outfitted one with mirrors and turn signals and brake lights as a moped. Boy, I wish they had that here in the States, because that's the one I would have bought, because then I wouldn't have any of that gray area. But I'm pretty happy with this. We're going to have a lot of fun. I just got to make sure that I'm not getting myself in trouble and riding it in places that I shouldn't. I'm excited to get out on the trails and really start putting this through its paces, and we're going to film some of those videos, and we'll do some on-road battery range testing and off-road range testing and see how long it actually takes to charge one of these batteries. There's a lot of stuff that I think that would be interesting for you guys to know about. Plus, we'll be doing some upgrades on this thing after we get good and used to it. I think raising the seat, raising the handlebars, better foot pegs. There's some brake options. There's actually a ton of aftermarket support for this bike because it's been out for several years already. There's a lot of people out there riding these and having a lot of fun with them. So there's a lot of people that have already kind of worked through some of those bugs. I will share with you the things that I choose to do with this bike. Now, Luna Cycles is the exclusive distributor in the United States for these, so that's the only place you can buy these. And I'll tell you, when I was looking at prices earlier in the year, they've already slowly started to come up as these bikes are getting more and more popular. I think that this bike is still a good value for the price I paid, and I'm excited to see what kind of stuff we can go do with this. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to put this on the back of the truck, on the back of the Jeep, on some of my trips, and we're going to go explore some of the off-beaten path a little bit in this thing. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So, all right, guys, well, if you are in the market for a quiet electric vehicle to go hit some trails with, I think the sur-ron Black Edition is a pretty good option. I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me in the garage. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the future stuff we're going to do with this bike. Thanks for watching.